What's up, good people? Let's get ready to get this thing going, get this thing started. I think I hit that go live button a little prematurely. I'm not even sure if everything is all the way ready to go, but we're going. So let's go and let's get it. Hit the like button.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Mumia Obsidian Ali. You know who I am. I need no introduction, right? And you're listening to the Grown Man Hour with my man Bernard Riley, heard weekdays right here on YouTube. What do you think about that? How about that? Now let's get back on with the show. Thank you.
What is up, good people? What's up, good people? Back in the building for another one. Should have an interesting one going for you today. I'd like to thank everybody who has made it on into the building. Shout out to the early bird squad, as I call them. Sorry. Sure, I got things right and ready to go. Shout out to Pooh in the building. Shout out to you, he says you have a free for 8-minute break. Okay. Emmett Perry in the building. He says, good morning, brother. CO in the building. If you missed me and CO's one-on-one that we did, titled, I forgot what I called it. It was, I was homeless while making $15K a year because of simple something. So that was pretty much what it was. If you missed that one, you definitely missed out. If you want to go back and watch that one, really good shit. A lot of good information in there in the midst of a horror story. In the midst of a horror story, a lot of really good information in there. It was a story of crime. Still came out being a story of crime. So definitely check that out. If you have not checked that out, check it out. And Theo says it's too early. Not for you. You don't make as much money as you making not without getting up bright and early. So I don't want to hear that. It ain't too early for you. Shout out to Theo and I'm being told no sound. Well,
Bernard, uh, no one can hear you if you can hear me. Okay. But can the people hear me? Can the people hear me? Yes, I see you typing. You say it's on me. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. 100%, ladies and gentlemen, take care of your microphone situation. I think the people can hear me. So, how are we doing this lovely Sunday? Right? See, last time we had technical difficulties, last time we had technical difficulties, I had to pull a rabbit out of a hat. I had to do a little routine. I had to do a little routine. Mr. Selector, keep coming with the grooves and rhythm sweet as nectar. I can't feature this one again, Mr. Selector. Keep spreading niceness on the land and we'll respect ya. How's it going, Clue? How is it going? We got W. Alfonso in the house. We got Theo in the house. Yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it? Because I know Bernard usually reads the few chats in the beginning and he actually focuses on them. This is the proof that you have now, ladies and gentlemen, that he focuses on the chat as he reads them. And I knew he was not going to get down to the no sound part until he thoroughly read all the other parts, and we just watched him pour his heart out about the time and certain other things, which we which we could not hear. You see, but as we do this pre-show here, might as well begin to introduce the idea here of this global network, and in terms of freelancers and employment. We're trying to solve some problems. We're trying to solve some problems. We're trying to solve some problems. The problems of barrier to entry into the employment/employee category, right? Trying to solve some problems, ladies and gentlemen. The system is coming. The system is coming for all. They're praying and chanting and drumming. With gladness they welcome the fall. The preachers and pilgrims will pillage. The pilots will drop down their bombs. Corruption will swallow the village. With blood we shall right all our wrongs. The toil of the farmers, the work of informers. Paradigms and fables hoisted upon us. Searchlight is searching, police they are lurking, legislators from the dark side emerging. Get a bird word for the masses. Shout out to Clue in the house. Shout out to Clue in the house. I come fi tell the ghetto you'd say this year roadblock no fit past this. Ghetto bird word for the children. They're terrorizing everybody, we no feel them. Ghetto bird word over Zion. Reconstitute a higher height that we can gather. Did I hear something? Did you guys hear something from the Bernard area? It's like I hear a little scratch, a little fade noise from the other dimension. He's in a parallel universe right now. He's in Bizarro world. The people are saying, but words have no meaning no more. Believers and preachers are praying, but God has been dead for so long, replaced by the sign of the dollar, and nation and duty and all. They're fighting for concept and color, rejecting the beauty of all. The toil of the farmers, the work of informers, the paradigms and fables hoisted upon us. Searchlight is searching, police they are lurking, legislators from the dark side emerging. Word them up, 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 word them up. So, what does the topic say today, ladies and gentlemen? And thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for the early bird squad holding it down while we get our act together, but we build it while we fly it, right? While we fly it, that is. How to set up a network overseas. How to set up a network overseas. As I mentioned earlier, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Okay, see, it's not easy. I think I hear
Hello.
sounds from the other dimension.
All right, we got audio. I'm not 100% sure if this is, well, how does it sound? Put it like that. That's a good question, because I don't even know if I'm coming. Wait, hold on. I could do one more test and I'll know if I'm coming through the right speaker. Hold on.
Okay.
Not right there. real quick. I am coming through the right speaker. Okay. All right. Good, good, good.
All right.
This was all deliberate on purpose, just because I wanted Ike to freestyle for us for a little bit. So anyway, we got it. We got we got Ike to freestyle. But no, let's. You were setting up the topic. You were setting up the subject and the topic. You came up with this idea. I thought it was pretty cool because it's more or less something that you have done. A lot of brothers talk about international, a lot of brothers in this space. They do talk about traveling, the passport bros doing all of this and making connections overseas, but they talking about different type of connections. But you can do business over there too. You can do business over there too, even without physically being over there. There's a lot of different stuff you could do with between your personal life, your business, everything. And you're the man to talk to on that one. You're the man to talk to on that one. How to maximize the international game, as they say, how to maximize it. So you got a lot of information on that. So we're going to definitely go to you.
Passport Maxon. That's
Passport Maxon. We're gonna go to you. We're gonna lean on you on that one. So shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to Clue. He says, "What up, Ike and Silent Bernard?" Right on. Shout out to you. Appreciate the super chat. Yep, let's go, Ike. You got it.
all right. So I was just kind of saying, like, what problem does this solve? Okay, what problem does this solve? Because when people say go into the and I think I hear a little echo, but I don't hear it anymore. Okay. When people say go do business overseas, right? What does that sound like to people? Like in the chat right now, if you're honest with yourself, if you're listening silently, when someone says, "Oh, you could do business there too," and I'm just like, really? Like, I can barely get what do you mean business? Like I could barely get a business going over here in my neighborhood where I know the language, the people, the routines, the structure, the governmental red tape.
Starting a business over here, it took me 2 months to get one sale. So how am I going to set up a business in a foreign land? Even if I visit there every now and then, if I had a hard time getting my first sale on U.S. soil, how the hell I'm gonna do some business over there? That's the question that should be in people's mind.
Exactly. So yeah, let's be honest. Because I don't know. I like to handle things from a very first person perspective. Like that's I don't know. That just came into my mind, but I think it's accurate of the way I like to kind of look at things. So it's like you got to start there. Like, okay, there is this issue right there of what do you mean do business overseas? Get the hell out of here! Trying to give me another load of stress to handle. It's all chaos out there. Whatever, that kind of a thing. However, here's the thing, though. There's a problem of being able to get in the bottom rungs of either being an employer or an employee. But the problem is spread across the globe. It has always been this way. In other words, in the developed world or in any particular economy that is arranged in a particular way, okay, compared to others. So in the developed world, it's hard to become an employer because of the expense of labor, right? The rules and regulations surrounding labor, right? The existence of a safety net that makes it such that people are not so, let's say, shall we say, they're not so willing to deal, right? I don't want to say they're not so desperate, but that's something else I could say, right? But so let's say in the West, in the developing world, and so on and so forth, you have that particular issue. There are things like minimum wage and so on and so forth. You're a Thomas Sowell fan, so I'm sure you know the whole thing of how minimum wage kind of cock blocks you at the lower end because I'll give examples of from even in my personal because it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'll give an example in the engineering world. I've had to part ways with recently one of my guys because he's new, right? So it's like I'm going to give him only part. I'm okay. You're working part time. You get some hours. Why is it part time? Because he's not good at everything yet. He's good at one thing at a time so far, right? So it's like, okay, I can't just keep you on full time because you can't really do 90% of the things we're doing here. So I teach you this one thing and then I give it to you and you do it. Like, good. Then you've learned that one, you learn the next, and so on and so forth. Per hour, you're getting paid well, right? But you're not just getting as many hours because you're learning. Now, you see, this didn't work for him because he had a safety net. This is the guy in England, one of the guys in England, right? He had a safety net that says, hey, you know what? If I would just apply for this government program, which, by the way, he could have applied for and said he was a contractor and kept both things going. But some people just don't know how to maneuver. It's just insane. But he was like, I could just get more money in terms of like, he was looking at it that was like, no, you're getting paid more per hour. You're going to develop in 6 months. You'll be balling. You have all the freaking English, whatever. All the Jessica Wise over there.
But also, it sounds like it's worth pointing out there is that somebody in a Western developed country, you had a harder time getting things. He had other options, put it like that. I think that's probably the best way to long story short it.
Yeah.
He had some other options, whereas going a different route. I'll let you explain it because you you going like say dealing with someone from a third world country. You gotta take that back up there and set that right there. Oh wait, no, do whatever you do whatever right there. Okay, as long as you take that. Okay, sorry, dealing with somebody third world country is a whole different ball game because, like you said, they're, for lack of a better way to describe it, they're working with a bit of desperation. Some of them. Is that fair? You can let me know if I'm not saying something fair, but this is what I'm gathering.
That's a good that's a good, it's a good conversation. It's a good rhetorical way of putting it. Yeah. Now people are listening, right? Okay. But what does desperation look like? Desperation is that, okay, so I just described one side of the issue. I said on the West, difficult to come into becoming an employer, getting help, getting a squad together to help you do the things to fill the gap, expertise gap, and so on and so forth. Okay, what's going on in the developing world? Okay, there's not a lot of competition out there for their labor. It's not like, oh, they have as many options as you said, right? And also, the amount of money that you can give them, you're highly competitive. Okay, coming in depending on the task with your $10, $15, $25 an hour. Okay, hitting someone with $25 an hour that's in Ethiopia. Okay, specifically, I'm not saying, that it means equally for different places, but $25 an hour in Ethiopia will get you a pretty good engineer, right? And what are you gouging them? No, you're pretty darn competitive. Okay, so desperation is one way to put it.
You're pretty competitive. What are they paying their engineers over there, adjusted for their dollar?
Yeah. So it is kind of insane, but you could get like, because the Ethiopian birr, okay,
that's what their money is called, bruh.
BIR is like birr,
brr.
The R after you gotta roll the R, the birr.
Brr. Okay. I got it.
But it's about 40 to 1 in terms of dollars.
Oh, okay.
Right? So you're giving them like 1,000 if you're giving them $25 an hour of their money per hour. They would earn like 500 a month dollars, right? But Ethiopia, it's a very particular spot. This is not gonna work in Kenya. Okay, you gotta pull up. It's different in Kenya. In other words, it's not such of a gap, but there's a big gap in terms of your $25 per hour. They work 10 hours, let's say, or 20 hours. You're getting already from 20 hours what they would be getting in a month, right? That kind of a thing.
Wait, say that again. You're getting what?
20 hours.
Okay.
Worked at $25 per hour is 500.
Okay.
I'm saying that's what they're getting paid per month. They're getting it for you for 20 hours.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying that they're doing less hours per work, but making the same thing, freelancing for you.
Yeah, and if they wanted to work, 80 hours a week, work here, work there, do whatever, like they could make more.
Yeah, they could double their money if they do 40 somewhere else. Then that puts them right at 60 hours a week. And I know in your
That,
mind you're thinking they got an extra free 20 hours to go work somewhere. they,
but that is their also their attitude, right?
yeah.
Because of the situation. But anyways, let's read the super chats and we'll
Shout out to Black Man Travels with the. Let me know what that is. Like you good at this? What is that? COP. Whose money is that? Columbia? I don't know.
huh, I don't know. I have no idea.
You don't know? Okay. You're not Mr. International like I thought you were. I thought
My
you was
bad.
gonna know instantly
My story is
on
crumbling right
how to.
in front of our eyes.
It's all falling apart now. He says, I have an office here in Medellin,
Okay,
Colombia. Okay,
that's
there,
going
answer
good.
the question. Many opportunities here in Airbnbs, import/exports, and the labor cost is very reasonable, especially if you hire Venezuelans. Shout out to you. Appreciate the super chat. Have no idea how much that is, but I'll drop a bomb. No, I actually think it might be 10 because somebody pointed out to me that different numbers get different colors. I think $10 normally gets yellow, so it might be around 10. So that we'll go with that. We'll go with that. $10. Shout out to you. Appreciate the super chat. All right, carry on. You were saying.
Oh no, just kind of. So let me, if I take a step back as to what tent are we under right now? We're under the tent of what problem are we solving? Okay, it's hard to get into the employer market or also the employee market in the West because of this high kind of there's a lot of options. There's a minimum wage thing, but you don't have the minimum skill. You know, the thing is, when people like the Thomas Sowells of this world kind of argue this point, it sounds like abstract or BS. But when you see it in real time, you see what it means. And that's why I said it occurs in different levels, whether it's at the McDonald's level or at the entry level engineer. People are kind of useless for almost a whole year sometimes. They're not fully revved up yet. So to say, oh, you must pay them this much, it's more like, you know what? I'll get a mid-level guy that can do an out 1.5 times more work than you, blah, blah. I can work it that in a certain way, whereby it'll work out for me financially and for this other person that is more skilled than you to do both your work and his work. But anyways, it is not easy to do that. There is the idea of also when people talk about like helping or having a kind of a spreading the wealth, doing this kind of a kumbaya thing, which is not a bad thing. I'm talking about like, just being spreading value, or we can talk about our conversation about bringing order back to you see, because this kind of can be couched in those terms too, because we talked about a lot of economic things that have to be in place for certain things to happen. But what's happening here is what companies have done a long time ago. What did they do? You take your employment problem in the West and you take the employment problem from the developing world, and boom, you match them together. It's a perfect fit. You come in there with your 25, your $10, your whatever, $5 per hour to get Mr. Spreadsheet Master from Brazil. You can get that guy. As I mentioned before, even outside, for some research work, for example, it could be for my channel, for my Prometheus engineering channel. I'm like, hey, there's this concept I would like to develop. Go ahead and do some research. Give me a 10 kind of slide presentation on this particular topic. Here's a certain amount of money. It's worth a lot, and these people are good. That kind of thing. Outside my regular employees, I'm just talking about this research guy that I have in Brazil. So that's kind of the why. Like, why should you be doing this? What's the problem you're trying to solve? In other words, think of the things that you could be doing. What would you start that particular endeavor if you had someone that could do account payable, account receivable, answer your calls? Take, for example, like let's ask the question, what kind of skills can be outsourced? Somebody could be answering the phone in your hair empire, Bernard, and they are in Kenya. They have nice, fluent English. You can get whatever kind of accent you want, whatever, you can go Hotep or you can go English sounding. What.
Are you saying that so they can fake an accent? That's what you're saying?
Well, people can fake an accent. I can fake
I,
an accent. I'm
I know, but
kind of
are you?
practically faking it. Yeah.
No, but that
Oh,
were
but yeah.
is that what you were saying for them to do? For me to do? Have them fake an accent, even though she's from
Oh,
Kenya and she speaks like a Kenyan. Have her imitate Keisha when she answered the phone.
oh no, no, I think you got to be like an African or more on the English side. It probably be hard to imitate Keisha. Or I don't know why you. Oh, and you might want, hey, or
No,
basically it's a
but
performance, both the
well,
words that they
see,
say and everything.
this is what I notice is that when I call somewhere for whatever it is that I need, whatever, and they send you overseas, the
Mhm.
first sentence will sound with the U.S. A local accent, and then with a U.S. accent, and then once the conversation gets going, they slip back into how they
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
That happens all the time. But
But yeah, for your kind of move here is the Kenyan accent will be perfect, you know,
actually, yeah,
especially, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, I know that, I kind of know the accent, kind of Obama's family made it popular, I guess, or something like that.
yeah,
We know what that we know where that is.
yeah. But no, it's still important to ask what kind of tasks can be outsourced.
Yes.
I mean, we played around with it with my business, but how could most people,
Hmm.
feasibly um pull that off? Like what are some more examples? Let's try to get into that.
Okay. So we just talked about the answering of the phones.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to now to the desk work, to the computer work. Okay.
Ah,
You
yep.
have all kinds of things like that are in HR, accounts payable, accounts receivable, so on and so forth, like some kind of bookkeeping, let's call it, slash project management. Okay. There's a lot of that kind of when your client, when the client calls you and you have to send a a quote to them and then receive their purchase. In other words, you could have this email, okay? This email which goes to this person. It's your accounts at PrometheusEngineering.com, accounts at BernardWhatever.com. It's managed whenever there's any kind of PO thing, any kind of whatever. That email is always copied in your emails. In other words, for the relevant emails, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get to handle all the keeping of your spreadsheets and the right sending of the invoices and the receiving of the invoices, sending of the invoices, asking for payment, all that kind of stuff. This is a real person that can do that for you, no problem, right? And you have other things as well that are in your particular business. Let's say you're in the service sector or of coding, let's say for computers, you can get coders that are out, you think in, and that's what people tend to do. They want to go to India or places where that the game's already sewn up over there. The big companies went there, right? They've been there. They've been doing this thing. They're not stupid, or the environment that forced them to make this kind of a move is real. It's also affecting you too. So you don't have to go to India to get coders. Okay, people know how to code in Ghana, Nigeria, whatever. This is something that O'Shea found out, right?
Yeah,
Because
you know what? I was going to ask you, and I don't want to derail you too much, but I was going to start this show off. I got tripped up by my mic not working. I think it was just unplugged, but I don't know. I think because when I bumped it, it made that little static noise, and normally that means that it's hanging halfway out. But I did want to ask you about those type of things. I'm assuming I didn't watch the whole interview with
mm,
you and O'Shea, but I know you to some degree got into that with how he's working with people. He ultimately has this international network that you're talking about.
mhm.
He ultimately has that. So I wanted to, see what information that he laid out, so you can incorporate some of that into what you're talking about now. But did want to ask you about that, and that way that'll save me having to go and watch a 2 hour interview.
Oh yeah. Let's boil it down because it fits right in here with what kinds of tasks can be outsourced. And the thing is, earlier when I was saying why should you do this, I'm saying for you, think, well, what would you do, or what is your think about the expertise gap. You're not good at everything, and there's something maybe that you're good at. Maybe you're like, you know what, I'll be a great saxophone teacher if I just had some kind of these certain things together, right? Maybe it could be anything as simple as your marketing. Okay, you want to start this business, but you got to like do all this kind of marketing things and set up these ads on Facebook or and this and that and do a website and the basic those kinds of things. It's like just look out there. The market is relatively inexpensive. There's a huge advantage in places such as Africa. I got an East Africa base and a West Africa base, so Ghana and Nigeria for the west side, and Kenya and Ethiopia for the east side, right? And we'll get to how you can do this, okay? But we're still on the what can be, and then here comes in O'Shea. O'Shea found in Uganda, right, this guy called Woody Maya, who's a YouTuber, and saw how he operated, and found Joanita, right, Joanita Maya, and then the
That's
Kim
his,
the comic. What?
Jonichi. That's the one he used to do the interviews with. That's the. I mean, he used to do like they did like a podcast
They
together. I
did
don't know
like
if
a
you
podcast, yeah.
did
The
it,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, O'Shea got the hots for Jonita. That's his
yeah,
woman.
it was kind of obvious. Like, well, I mean, I don't blame him either. I mean,
He can, yeah, I'm messing with him, but he's like he wear it on his sleeves, and that's it's like
I
you can
mean,
just
I said
tell. You can just tell, like, okay, yeah, O'Shea he either is or he trying to hit that. One of the other.
he's,
Anyway,
he's out
carry on.
there simping. He's out there simping in
Hey, it's all
Uganda
good. It's all
for
good.
Joanita. Like, oh,
I,
Joanita.
I ain't knocking it. I'm not
He,
knocking it. I'm just saying,
he,
O'Shea, we see you. You in HD. We know what's going on there. We know we know that that's a business arrangement that you're trying to flip into something else.
Yep. Found those people and saw that when something works, because you saw the operation of this guy Woody Meyer and so on and so forth, like, oh, he has these people, he has this many auxiliary cables and 2 extra camera batteries, and when just kind of looking at the operation side, and the big part of the whole operation side is you got to have people. And what he did was he found this guy Dima through Upwork, which is a site for finding freelance work, and Dima is in Russia, right? So Kevin Samuel's videos, to the best of my knowledge, right, the edited ones, they get done by the O'Shea Inc., right?
Oh.
Yeah. He said that. I mean, I knew that before, but I was like, oh, this is still continuing that. But he said it also in the. Go ahead.
I knew somebody that wasn't in the States was editing O'Shea's videos because they make mistakes here and there.
Wow, damn. Like
one time they had they was supposed to be showing a picture of Tommy Sotomayor. I don't know who the hell this dude was. It was just some
you just typed in they typed in Sotomayor and somebody came up. The Supreme Court Justice, the woman. She must be Tommy.
But no, his editor do a good job. I used to I had hired an editor here in the States. I was working with him, but then somewhere along the way I figured out how to edit videos for myself. And when I get on my grind and start, I could probably put out an edited video once per day. I probably when I really get on my grind, which I've been telling myself, all right, I'm about to get on it. I do my live show every day, get done with my live show, do a pre-record it, spend the rest of the day editing the video, and then drop an edited video every day. That was the game plan. But I know how that works when you're working with an editor. They may slip something in there that you wouldn't quite like. Whoa, hold on, wait, time out. That's that's not the image I want to put out there, or that's literally the wrong person. But so I know what it's like when working with an editor, because I had one, but I know how to. My last short 8-9 minute video about Drew Holiday, I edited that one myself, so I got some editing skills. I got a little editing skills, so I'm about to be exploring that. But shout out to O'Shea. I didn't hit O'Shea with too many jokes. I got to chill. All right, go. I don't know where we was at. We was talking about O'Shea.
Yeah, him
the
out
Russian,
there.
Dima,
that's the Russian
from Russia, and so yeah. And Dima actually edits some of Kevin Samuel's videos. Is that accurate?
And whomever I don't know because Kim I think there's a Uganda-based editing crew as well.
Okay,
right. So in between whoever is throwing the hot potato, I'm sure that they all know how to edit the same kind of thing. Which I heard personally from O'Shea that because there's a format, right? Like even with the Kevin Samuels edits, right? There's a format, right? So and he just uses the system. Like for example, his old celebrity junk thing. And maybe I'm not. I don't think I'm giving too much. I'm not giving
No,
anything away
I
in
don't
terms
think
of
so.
yeah. Because if you listen to it, you can kind of see the format. Because basically, it's like I'm gonna say these things in response. Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, give me a oh my god sound, right? Obviously,
Hmm.
those come later. Like, so he's literally like just kind of like directing the show. Like, show me, do me this, give me that, and
That's
then
that's brilliant, really. It is because you don't know the amount of time when I was working with an editor where I had to call them like right here on this part, I want this, and could you add this right here? Or I sometimes will be in the middle of the video and stop, like I'll be recording, and in the middle of the video, I'll have to stop and say, hey, this 15 seconds ago when I said this, I want you to show an image of this, and I want you to do this.
Mhm.
And if you could find this sound or make something pop up, no, O'Shea is just like right there in mid swing with everybody watching, saying, "Give me a ooh sound effect." You know,
Yep,
so it's like he
worked
just
it
keeps
into
going.
part of the show. He
Yeah,
worked it the whole editing into the show. It's
that
like
I've
I'm,
never seen nobody do that. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Where he's having a behind the scenes conversation with the editor live on the show where you can hear it. But he made it seamless. Where if you never did any video editing, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know at all. You would just think that hey, that's just his style. Hey, let me get a drum, boom, ping, whatever. Then, but they
mhm.
yeah, so they do real good. There you go. But no, I do actually. See, I know how to edit my own video, so I was getting my even if I found the best deal ever overseas from some
But
overseas
you enjoy
people.
doing it
That's a good point. How much do I enjoy doing it? That's a good point.
because that's one obvious question. But the other obvious question is, hey Bernard, maybe you're not the person that should be editing videos. You're more useful to your organization. You get the. It's like, hey, you're the head of Bernard Industries here. You shouldn't be sitting over there
Is that
editing videos. You
is
should be
that the
making the next
polite business?
moves.
Is that the polite business professional way of saying, Bernard, you suck at editing videos.
Like,
Just stick
maybe
to
you
stick
shouldn't
to
be the
talking
one.
on the mic. We would rather just hear your voice. You have
Maybe
a
your
really
talents are not best suited.
that's how you politely that's people. I saw this is a video. I probably have to find it. Ooh, I didn't spill nothing right there. But no, I saw a video. It was called I don't know what it was called, but it was basically polite ways to fire somebody, where you do it in such a polite way, the person just ends up firing themselves. They they just understand that what you're telling them to the point is that's how you smooth over to somebody that they really suck. You would be best suited doing some other job, some other career, a position that we don't offer. Anyway, all right, carry on. We was talking
Yeah,
about Kevin Samuels and
yeah. Kevin Samuel's videos being edited by because here, the main thing is why we're looking at O'Shea is not, oh my God, this is the greatest content ever in the world. No, we're talking about the machinery behind the works, right?
mm-hmm.
So whether you like his video or not, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Is he has this network in Uganda, right? That is just running and pumping out money, and where he houses his little lady, Jonita. But anyways, um,
Um,
and and it worked for him. So it's like it's like he saw it and it was like wow. And again, this is something that companies have. Apple has been doing this. Google, everybody's been doing this forever since they saw the opportunity. The populace in the West was more mainly asleep or maybe comfortable, but now we're not can't be so comfortable anymore, right? We now got to start doing the kinds of things that the companies have already did for a long time, but we got to go to the places where they're not, like, right? So it's like, and here's how you would set up, for example, that lady that's going to be picking up your call, right? I think in the whole what kinds of tasks, it may be important to also kind of see the way in which you get the right person to do certain kinds of things. All you need is good internet, right? And you may have to sponsor that part or arrange something. And getting internet in terms of like little bundles and packages, is simple over there, right? That kind of a thing where it's not like, oh, I gotta go sign up this. It's like, no. So she's got good internet. you can easily find, and we'll get to how you. Well, how do I find the Kenyan women? Like, trust me, there many of ladies in Kenya that speak English, right? But to finding them, we'll get to that. But hey, here's the price. Here's the internet. They want to be competent. They want to succeed. This is an important thing, right?
But hold on, wait. Is there an issue because the lady that I dated from Kenya, I remember she would point out that the internet sometimes sucks over there, or it may go down for 12 hours, or issues like that.
Very good point. That's why,
So
yeah, very good point.
does that become an issue?
It becomes an issue, and O'Shea even brought this up. So how is his Uganda operation working out? In other words, there are places, just like in the United States, but in the United States, it's more even. But there are places where the internet sucks, right? So, but there are places, in other words, there are places where the internet is good. So what did O'Shea do? O'Shea had to move, okay, and get to set up his operation in a particular place. Why do you live in this? Because one of the pushbacks that some people had with O'Shea was like, why are you paying that much living in this swanky area, right? And same thing for me too when I go to Ghana and I stay in, East Legon or Cantonment or whatever. It's like, you want to, there's certain things to just be guaranteed, okay? And you got to pay for it, just like anywhere else in the world. Right? It's like, so you're like, okay, there's an operational expense here about we have to set up this operation in this particular area. Okay, no problem. Laptops not so expensive. The internet in bundles is not so expensive. Obviously, your money, this person is going to be valuable to you. You give her the internet, you give it, and then you kind of test. You see the progress and the testing. But we'll get to that. So I think that we've kind of covered a lot of things that have to do with the different kinds of tasks, all the way from editing of Kevin Samuels videos to somebody answering your emails, being your accounts payable and accounts receivable department, doing your HR stuff, doing spreadsheeting or researching for you, working for you as an engineer. In my case, you got to do this because it makes 100% sense, and there's still a great opportunity and untapped areas. You don't have to go to Europe or Thailand or India and all those other places. No, there are other places with great education systems. People are educated, ready to go. They need that money in their pocket, and you got to find the competent ones. So the finding of them, I think, it will be the next thing for us to kind of get into. I don't know if you have any comments so far.
Oh no, we're good. We talked about what type of task, what you might need them to do. Yeah, we covered that pretty good. Let's talk about the this probably isn't an issue, but I know how us Americans think. And here in America, we're thinking over there's a issue of people not being as qualified. Like, and so I guess that sort of gets into the how do you find the people? Because I guess to lengthen that question, how do you find the qualified people? So I guess those two can go in one. Are they just as qualified as people in the States? And how do you find the qualified people? How do you make a distinction between? Because we lie on resumes here, so I'm assuming it happens out there too. So let's just go
happens
ahead.
Out there. You just call it a CV rather than a resume.
Yeah,
which is also called over here too. But yeah, asking for that curriculum vitae. Well, let's address the first part, which is the broad question of people's reliability, people's competence generally, and it sucks all over the world.
Okay, I thought you were about to say it sucks in Africa. No.
All over the world, right? All over the world.
Okay, good.
People kind of equally suck, and even going along with my BAN Bravo Alpha November philosophy of life.
Bravo Alpha.
I suck in many, these many different arrangements, many time spans, many whatever. You're falling off here, so we all suck, even in things which we are good at. Yeah, aspects of it where we suck. So it's like, this is a real problem, and you got to sift it out, whether it be here or there. What I'm telling you is just like people tell the passport bros, hey, if you don't know how to deal with a woman, why do it's like you're trying to go to this place where I want the nice ready-made, there's this thing called woman, right? There's this this dish, right? But you don't know how to serve it, you don't know how to eat whatever, but you're going to a place where the best one is made. It's like, don't you think you need to know something about this particular cocktail, this food, or whatever, before you be like, I want to go get the best one, and then you get there and you don't know what to do with it. But anyways, same thing here. You're gonna need to sift for BS when it comes to the people. Now, how do you do it? The short answer will be to email me in an email which I will give you later. In other words, find somebody that has the network already going, and then I'll tell you how I got the network going. That answers both. That really answers the question. In other words, you got to get in the network somehow, right? And then I'm like, okay, I got these two spots, East Africa, West Africa. How did I come up with them, and how would you be able to come up with them, right? So you know somebody, or you got to get like, I know somebody. How did I come up with the West Africa? The West Africa one is obvious. Okay, I'm from there. How about East Africa? Okay, that's more like fresh venture for me. So I'm like, I find somebody from the area, and you can find in the internet, in the YouTube space. Go to some Pan-African website. They stream as well, right? They talk some Hotep stuff, maybe some other kind of stuff, but we all understand. We all speak in the same language, and you or whatever the hell kind of networking or whatever it may be, you find somebody in that area, okay, that may kind of make sense to you, that you can kind of trust, but you also want to go there. So I was in Ethiopia in March, right? A big part of what I was doing there was kind of setting things up for the employee in Ethiopia, right? So you gotta touch your. I think there was what movie was that about the lady with some drug lord, and how he traveled to go to the place himself to go kind of.
Oh, American Gangster, Denzel Washington.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen that. I just heard that part.
He went to get the blue magic. He had to cut out the middleman and went directly to the source.
This is what we're saying. Yeah. So we're saying if we cut, so in other words, there's some simple things in terms of common sense, success leaves clues, so on and so forth. Okay. So success leaves clues. You cut out the middleman, you will win. It's not you're not doing anything dangerous like getting blue magic. You're simply, so what's the challenge? The challenge is I got to get in the plane. I got to be comfortable to travel to suss out a place myself, just like what O'Shea did, right? O'Shea wasn't born in Uganda. He planned
he was over there tricking anyway, and he stumbled. He stumbled into some business. That's what
stumbled. I was. Anyways, all right. All right. I'll keep it PG-13 for now. But you have to overcome that. That's the barrier to overcome. Got to travel. Got to go there. Okay, so you find a person there. I found somebody. Okay, someone in Kenya, but actually between Kenya, UK, and Ethiopia, in other words, East Africa and England, that's kind of like their zone. Because you got to remember, Africa and Europe are pretty close, right? They're right there. So I found a contact there, went over there, set up all kinds of things, and so on and so forth. Okay, but here's basic things that I do: IQ test. Okay.
Oh.
Personality test.
Whoa, time out.
Interview.
Okay, go ahead and finish. Okay, IQ test, personality test, interview.
Okay, I think that's because that's the pre, right? So that's the pre kind of thing, because there's evaluation also, because you got to cut people out sometimes, and then blah blah blah. It's going to end up with a list though of like people you've worked with, but IQ test, personality test, and an interview. So what parts do you have questions about?
What kind of IQ test do you give them?
So there are IQ tests that are the more recent IQ tests are kind of they're kind of based on these kind of spatial arrangements of things, whereby it's not a racist IQ test. It's not based on any particular
I don't necessarily believe in the whole concept of the racist IQ test. It's other things that play there, but
yeah, I mean, the idea is it's these things where let's say you have these arrangement of different kinds of shapes, or natural progressions or transformations of objects in your mind. It's what it ends up being. This transformation of objects in your mind is really at the basis what thinking is about, especially mathematical thinking, right? It's, with whatever these equations or graphs or whatever's are, it's transformations of objects in whatever space it may be. And hence, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. But the thing is, you want to know the kind of IQ person you're working
So
with and also the personality.
everybody you hire them knowing the exact number of what their IQ is.
But here's the beautiful thing that you're
And
going to get out of this.
Do they know that this? Well, I guess if they know how IQ tests work, they would know. But I take it it's not like I'm giving you an IQ test to see if you're smart enough to work for me, and you're not. Okay, you failed. Okay, carry on.
You see, that's not really what it's
about. Go shovel some feces somewhere because you're not smart enough to work for me.
It's okay. It's very interesting. But the thing is, I mentioned also a personality test and an interview. And also, before with that, also, we talked about the CV. Okay. So this person is coming in, let's say, in my own particular situation, right? Because I think my situation is complex enough that it can be adapted to other people's situations, which may be more simple in terms of I just need a copywriter, I just need a Excel spreadsheet person, whatever, so forth. So if I'm going for an engineer, right? Or it may be a copywriter or any other thing like that, there's going to be a CV. This person is going to claim. But remember, you have somebody, okay, in the location. So this is not just like you finding some random person. No, you make a connect with somebody that you can then trust to say, hey, can you find me? Right. And then the process begins. You don't just go, no, you get the point, right? Mm-hmm. You find big chief in the town or little chief in the town or anybody in the town that is in the town that has connections there that knows that kind of area to say, hey, you travel from England to Kenya often, right? You like tricking over there as well, apparently. So what is it? What are the university students like? Blah, blah, blah. I know that's your preferred class of women in terms of like employment, blah, blah, blah. So you find this person, you bring them in, they got that CV, they're claiming these things, you've checked with this person. Okay, cool. Now they're in. You've given them an IQ test just to pass a particular kind of threshold, and it's not even the most important thing. It's like, because in combination with the personality test is the main thing, because some people are intuitive, some people are not, some people are starters, some people are finishers. And when it comes about the different kinds of functions, the cognitive functions, extroverted sensing versus introverted sensing, introverted intuition versus extroverted intuition, blah, blah, blah. In other words, the different people who are just good at different things. For example, you give me a test, if it's timed, I'm not coming up ahead. Time is not my friend. But if you give everybody a whole day to do this test, my results will be the best. In other words, and it's not me, it's not a kind of a brag. I'm just kind of saying there's people who work in this kind of it takes me longer, but I'm going to do these many iterations after a certain point and perfect the thing, right? Higher than people who just kind of like, boom, did it. So these are different kinds of people that you're going to have to put in different kinds of roles and understand their different strengths. You have people who are just computers. Like, this guy is just a computer based on his personality and even his IQ. He's just a computer. He just wants you to give him tasks, give him the rules. He doesn't want to think. He doesn't want to talk to customers. He doesn't want to, he just wants to compute and get paid. That's his thing. So this is why it's important to do these things, not just to bring them in, but to categorize them properly. So, and when we went into this, well, how do you find them? And I said, well, you got to come to someone like me, is because I have a matrix, which is just a fancy way of saying an Excel spreadsheet. So I have a matrix of.
Threw me off. I was like, ooh, a matrix. Wow,
it's got a matrix. I got an Excel spreadsheet that categorizes these people, right, based on this is top tier engineer, this particular type, blah 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 blah, and then this is this kind of guy that is good for these type of calculations. You can do it, therefore, for all, and this is what I'm trying to do. It's called MISC, by the way. This is the name of the thing, and I'll give you an email later. I'll drop it in the chat if you want to kind of be like, hey, how do I, consultation, whatever it may be. How do I do it? Or can I use someone in your network? I need somebody. And this is why this is couched in the conversation also about that kind of restoring order and that kind of stuff. Because at some point we talked about creating nodes, valuable nodes in a network, and then being able to tell people that these people are valuable. Because that whole idea of support black business, like, how do I know this person is legit, right? So the idea is you're going to know because they're going to have been evaluated, tested, and so on and so forth. You want to cut people off quickly, right? If they don't last. After let's say you go through this pre-process, curriculum, IQ test, personality test, interview, things are working well. 2 months or 3 months of a test period where you're like every 9 a.m. my time here after these shows, I usually do a training or kind of blah blah blah. So in these things, you're evaluating them and you're evaluating their work. And if it doesn't work, you got to quickly cut them off. And those who really succeed and excel, you create a pyramid scheme out of it. What does that mean?
Oh,
Bam! It's like,
pyramid
like
scheme.
he was doing so well.
That's that's
I didn't bring that in because I know you wanted to talk about MLM.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you and Joanne, you and your Jonita, talking. I'm not gonna put that on you. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, y'all don't give the same vibes as O'Shea and Jonita. But, you know.
All right.
You might got a small thing for her, just a little bit, just a little.
Oh, we're hiding it well. Good.
Yeah. All right. I don't know.
Yeah, but what I mean by the pyramid though is now when you find this competent person, like for example, my engineer from Ethiopia, the Ethiopian lady, I said game changer would game changer would be so jealous if he sees my lovely Ethiopian engineer girl, light skinned and everything.
Oh, man.
Doing quality engineering work. Did you picture games?
Yeah, that's just his wet dream right there. Light-skinned Ethiopian engineer chick. Yeah.
So she's doing particularly well. I'm like, okay, she's sharp. Personality type, IQ, that kind of stuff kind of lines up with everything. Is kind of yeah, it's like this is what we expected of her, and this is what she's doing. The hypothesis is kind of molding out, right? And then you're like, okay, can you find me other people? That's the pyramid aspect. You're just now using them as your recruiters, right? And they get something out of it. Okay? What?
I'm just looking at a comment. What?
What just sounds? Never seen your face like that. Oh.
Yeah. Time him out until your fingers start bleeding. Just keep going. Just keep timing him out. I'll give him another chance. Yeah. Anyway,
well,
all right. Well, carry on.
And if I think I know the comments you're talking about, or the set of comments, this is why that first step is very important in terms of why you gotta know. Look, so if that's why I'm saying like, hey, come talk to me, okay? Or here's how I did it, right? Because maybe I'm a scammer. I'm a Nigerian after all, but at least you're like, okay, I'm in other words, go to find someone that you know that's already doing this, or that you can seek some kind of a trust with, blah blah blah. So we're getting scammed just like anywhere else,
Speaking of you being in Nigeria, I was about to get into that whole aspect of it, the Nigerian scammer aspect of it, but something just popped in my head. A little off subject, little known fact: the best player in the NBA is technically Nigerian. A lot of people don't know that. Giannis Antetokounmpo, they call him the Greek Freak because he was born in Greece, but his mother and father, they're Nigerians. He just happened to be born in Greece and grew up there, but nobody ever acknowledges that. No, the guy, the two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and about to win a championship and win Finals MVP, and I don't even think he's 25. Yeah, he's Nigerian. So just wanted to throw that out there because I just realized that because they always talk about him being from Greece, but I'm like, nah, But anyway, I knew he was somewhere had to be somewhere from Africa. But anyway, off subject. I just found that out today.
And playing basketball. So yeah. Anyways,
fun fact. Anyway,
the pyramid and the how does it get done and how do you develop it is kind of where we're at. I said if for example, my Ethiopian engineer lady is doing well as she is right now. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to be doing right after this show is interviewing a couple of the people that she referred, right? You see, now this is the part where it gets a little easier, but you don't want to go below that. Like, in other words, it depends on how many layers your pyramid has, right? But this at this part, that difficult job of recruiting gets easier when you find someone that's thorough, that can then say, you can tell them, hey, coworkers, friends, people that you know that can handle this, bring them in. They can also now get an increase in pay because here's they get, let's say, 10% of the pay. There's like a finder's cut, let's say. You know what I'm saying? Now, like, why does a finder's cut make sense? Well, because it's a good incentive for the pyramid to work. And because when you find your captain, that person that when you bring people in early and you're trying to build something, you got to overpay those people. In other words, that's why the first employees of Facebook or the first whatever, because it's nothing yet, right? Or in other words, you're building a potential, right? You're like, okay, come in, you're good enough, you stick with me, you're gonna be a fat cat, right? In other words, what I'm paying her is not what I have to pay in order to get her underlings, if you will, the people she's bringing in to
Oh,
work.
that's what you mean by the pyramid scheme. If I
Yeah,
understood it right, was that
yeah.
correct? Because when you said pyramid scheme, I was like, hold on, wait a minute, you tripping now? But now I get it. Now I get it. You're not talking about the traditional multi-level marketing. Get five people to get five people to get five people to sign. Keep signing people up $500 each to sell some magical juice. No, you're talking
Mhm.
about you got her. She's an efficient employee, and she's in an area she's well connected. She got people who she could probably technically, put on, connect with
Mhm.
you. Well, the people that she put on and connect with you could bring them in and pay them a lot less than her during their trial period, and they may make it, they may not make it, but that's how you're using her to try to replicate her. In other words,
Yeah, and I'm giving her a percentage of my savings in terms of me not paying them as much. Okay, let's say I give them 20 an hour. Okay, let's just make it simple rather than the
wait, hold on,
25.
but wait, is she managing these people? Is she like is that
Technically, yes, as well. So
because
it's
if
like,
she's doing that, then she's moved up to another level. She's moved up
exactly.
to a level of management, and now I'm paying them less, but I'm going to pay you a little more if you can get them to operate like you,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
that way you get to do less, right?
Yes. You
Good.
want somebody that can do, like, okay, you are what you're doing for her right now, the learning, the inspiration, the teaching them the ropes and so on and so forth. You want her now to do it for these other people. You pay them less, you got savings from that, you got blah blah blah. You give it to her, right? You're okay, now you're a full salary employee, handle these people, and also maybe you give her, she has her own special little more complicated projects, but you know, you you pull the curtain back. Now she's seeing the emails from the clients, right? And she's asking the questions directly to the clients. Client requesting something. You're like, okay, well, Mr. Client, do you have the cut sheets for this particular equipment? Do you have the specs for this job? Do you have the structural drawings, architectural drawings, whatever it may be that we need? That kind of a thing, right? So that's how you offload it. Okay, that's the system. But how do you, that kind of paints a picture of how you get this done. But the beginning stage is very important. The beginning stage of the first person that you find, the first person that you connect with. And my whole thing is to create, as I was saying, a network of individuals that have these different skills. I already have some, and I'm interviewing more, as I said. Have these different skills, and I can connect you with these people, and so on and so forth, or get you started on that journey of doing this international network thing. So I'm going to eventually have a website that ranks people. Just going to have a Yelp for this kind
Oh,
of thing, right? And businesses as well, right? Or you got an accounting business, you got a whatever business, you got a weave business, or this is, then it's like you have a rank, blah blah blah, that kind of a thing. And I think that kind of network is needed, because otherwise it's just, well, trust people, trust,
Right.
yeah, go to Africa and get scams. Like, no. Or, oh, go to this black owned restaurant, and eat. It's like, no, why should I want quality? So it's like, okay, if you want to do quality stuff and take advantage of, because look, it's economic all the way. The reason you're going to Africa, it's not just for hotep. It's because, hey, there's yeah, I don't want to go to India and China. It's like, hey, this is where the opportunity is at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense all the way through, if you ask me.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. One question I gotta ask: how many people completely botch the IQ test? I mean, not botch it, but just fail it. Just when you look at the IQ test and you like, ooh,
This is an interesting topic that because you can look up right now and share on your screen if you want the average IQ ranked by country from highest to lowest. Have you ever
man,
looked
I'm
at that?
I'm, I'm walking on eggshells on that, but yeah, I know the average. Like over here, if you have less than 100, we consider you
Mhm.
a little, not
You're
quite
below
exactly.
average.
Yeah, below average. Yeah, below average. Not necessarily a dummy, but just not that smart. You're below average.
Mhm.
If you got less than 100, that's what it is in the
Like
U.S.
Jesse Lee
But
Peterson. I'm just kidding.
then you look at the average IQ ranked by country, and in a lot of African countries, it's averaging somewhere around 70,
70 something.
somewhere around 70, and
Yeah.
that's so. It seems like you'd be. I mean, I'm assuming you want more than a 100 IQ.
So now that it opens up some ground here to talk about something controversial and maybe a little fun.
Yeah,
So let's leave my IQ checking of them for the company and what I do with the numbers aside. Let's talk about how one can might evaluate the number, given the fact what you just said. I don't know if the people heard in the chat, but Bernard just told you, hey, if you look at the average IQ of a lot of African countries is retarded. How is that possible? Somehow they're able to walk and chew gum over there, or at least blah blah, or at least I don't get it. You know, when they go to Europe, they do well. When they come to America, they do well. Or maybe that's just the elite echelon. Okay, whatever. But how is it possible? Because in America, the IQ of 70 cannot be a mechanic. But we have mechanics all over here in Nairobi, Kenya, or Nigeria, and their IQ is
how
70.
way? I've been trying to figure that out. What I'm thinking is okay. This is what I'm thinking. The bell curve distribution. Those that are on that little right there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the engineers and those who have high performing professional jobs that require high IQs, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
the overall population over there. If I mean, I'm making Africa one big country now.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's 2.5 billion people over there. So even if there's a small sliver that
Mm-hmm.
fall into that high IQ category, they're still just a minority and a fraction of the whole population in Africa. And those are the ones
Mm-hmm.
who brain drain and go work all over the world and be like, look at Africans. They come over here and they do well. But then those who are on the other end of that distribution are the ones that stay there and don't make it out. That was my theory.
Yeah, but theory doesn't work with the numbers of people whom are just competent in doing, because you don't have to be mechanics in order to do a lot of basic things, like even be a bus driver, transport people from here to do be effective, especially in a tough environment, right? Like
Yeah,
that, where it's not
70
easy.
IQ people can't really drive a bus. Is that
So
accurate?
that's the point. It's like, but there's lots of people driving buses and stuff out there. So obviously, we know we have this measure, it's called IQ, so on and so forth. We know that there's something that's going to vary from environment to environment, and so let's not act so surprised. Now let's start asking the questions
Right.
about what are the
Well,
things that could
I
vary.
remember somebody said this, and this is something worth pointing out because black folks get triggered on the IQ thing. Somebody pointed out, and this person was practically I don't know, I can't remember. Damn, it's one or two people. One of them is a card carrying racist. The other one,
You talking
he's
about
not.
Stefan Molyneux or someone else?
Stefan, I didn't. I didn't necessarily put him as a card carrying. He's
Gotcha.
one of the possibilities. Either
Yeah, yeah.
Stefan Molyneux, it was either Stefan Molyneux or Jared Taylor. One of them said this. They
Mhm.
pointed out that Jared Taylor was the card carrying racist, but they said something along the lines of they told a story where it was a
Mhm.
girl. I don't know if she was African or just African American as they call it over here. Um, she had about a 70, no, it was slightly below 70, like it was an IQ low enough to where her social skills should have been bad. She didn't have shit. She shouldn't have been able to make friends, because basically they IQ tested a young girl. She was in, elementary school, basically. And they IQ tested a white girl. They had the same exact IQ. The
Mhm.
white girl with that very low IQ she was visibly retarded. We would look at her and
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, something ain't right with her. Like she's just a kid, just off, just staring off in space, just walking, just
Mhm.
can't make friends, can't socialize, can't talk with people. A little
Mhm.
drool here and there. Her IQ was that low, but then it was a black or African girl with the
Mhm.
same really low IQ who was completely, functional and thriving and had friends and, did normal kid
Mhm.
stuff. And so
Mhm.
that made even the card carrying races have to say that yes, the IQ is what it is. You're not going to see people with, an 80 IQ becoming a doctor, or, you're just not going to see
Mhm.
that. But when it comes to race, yeah, a 70 IQ for or 70 IQ or 80 IQ, it means something different. It could
Mhm.
mean something different. And that's how
Mhm.
he explained it, because they retested those girls over and over again. They kept coming up with the same IQ, but they couldn't
Yeah.
explain how one of them was perfectly fine and perfectly functional and the other one was visibly retarded. They couldn't figure it out. So they had to just come to the conclusion that it means different things for different people.
Yeah, I mean,
So
but Bernard, it's not that complicated, right? Like they make it seem like it's so hard. You come up with this thing and you normalize it for a particular population. By normalizing, these are statistical mathematical operations. I'm going to normalize it at 100, and it's going to measure these particular people's competence um, in a certain way. And for the people talking about the math part of no, as I said, the IQ tests are not racist anymore, and by that I mean they don't have any particular kind of bias. So it's like, this is kind of heavily math based or knowledge based. It's like, no, that's not what's going on here. Okay, it's just that these people, these different groups. Okay, let me put it this way: you can't the kind of attention, because this is all about cognitive function and attention. Okay, the kind of attention that you have to pay when you come up in a certain group and milieu. First of all, there's a big thing about, if you look at the correlation, when there's a lot of war and a lot of stuff like that, oh, famine, this, that, it's like, okay, IQ tends to be low, right? For,
but they're
for
probably
certain,
having famine and all of that stuff because the
no,
IQs are low.
hey, hey, boom, boom,
Possibility,
nice. But yeah,
possibility.
possibility, yeah. However, also, there is a difference. Okay, this is gonna sound, because we gotta broaden out now and get evolutionary, obviously,
Oh man,
right?
yeah,
Obviously, right? Because
yeah.
whenever you look at differences in populations, blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah. What else are you gonna say? You gotta look at that picture in terms of how did these differences come about? Because remember what we're saying. We're saying that, hey, an IQ of 75 for an African does not mean the same thing as an IQ of 75 for a white person. IQ of 75 for a white person cannot function. IQ of 75 or is just kind of average for, you know, the way it's measured. What I'm saying is that there's something more fundamental about the makeup and the way that people pay attention if you come up from a particular genetic pool. The genetic pool in around the equator, for one thing, they're not systems people and they are not time people. We talked about the time and the systems before, right? In terms of, because there's no great variation, there are no consequential variations in the time such that it'll lead you to be a very systems type of person. Make the hay while the sun shines and make sure you do this by June because the winter is going to come and kill you, right? That kind of a thing. Yeah, out there in the sun goes, okay, cool. I got a task. I got to meet it. I got to get food at some point. Maybe I'll do it at noon, like this guy over here, Zuma likes to do. But this other guy likes to sleep all day, wake up right, and whatever, and catch the last one, kill it. That kind of a thing. So there are differences in the manner of paying attention and so on and so forth, because the functionality is what really just tells us there. It's like, look, this one is functional, this one is not functional. There's a different normalization, in other words, right? We normalized it for a group. We said 100 is the average, okay? And if you're below and blah blah blah. But over here we're seeing a different number. And if we're measuring the same thing, which is human competence, which is like, okay, and we can kind of clearly see it, then we simply have to change. And a theory that would say that why it's different, why we're different in normalization, different environment evolved from different whatever over millennia, doing different kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but so yes, different people, different environment involved over different, millennia, as you say, and yeah, they're going to produce different people who are going to, on average, score differently on a test. However,
a test that looks at systems. Anyways, go ahead.
That looked at systems, but there are certain systems that run and operate in the Western world. So the people who grew up in a different way, in a different environment, whose brain probably works differently,
mm-hmm.
do they not do as well in these systems based off not based off the test that measures the system, but the test
mm-hmm.
measures how they, systematically put things together. And then they get out in this Western world where it's certain systems that they got to try to operate in.
They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle with showing up on time. Number one. Okay. No, it's for real. They're going to struggle with showing up on time. You're guilty. We know they're going to struggle with certain kinds of, if it's not task and outcome based, if it's come in and punch the clock, follow these rules, they're going to struggle with that. Okay, where they're going to excel? They're going to excel in jazz music and all kinds of improvisational / intuitive type things, which is where they like to be, generally speaking. Okay, and they could do very well in terms of starting a new system, right? I'm going to be this kind of entrepreneur, this kind of a whatever, this kind of a thinker, whatever, that kind of a thing, maybe even a philosopher, whatever it may be. You're going to do well in those areas, but you're going to struggle within certain rigid systems because that's just not what your genes want to do. Your genes are not worried about father time and winter and this and that and all those kinds of things and having to arrange whatever, like the Germans have been dealing with forever. So you're like, all this system shit, no, I want to flow. So you're going to have to struggle with that. You're going to have to make your flow way adapt to the systems that you're in. And that partly also dovetails to this topic we're talking about in terms of freelancing, giving people tasks, deadlines, they get paid. You get to do the things that you get to want to do. This kind of a general expansion, I think it all comes together. In other words, to break out of the 9-to-5, break out of the systems, and be able to operate more in a freelancing, improvisational way, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Theo. He says, my IQ is 156, still made really stupid mistakes. Yeah, stupid mistakes aside, it doesn't shock me at all that Theo has an IQ of 156. Because let's look at it. Okay. Theo, for those that don't know, makes a ton of money. Makes a ton of money, an astronomical amount of money. He's practically, if it's not enough to call him rich, he's practically rich. He threw the number out there, so I thought he was like $50,000 a month. That's what he's been making for the last year. $50,000 a month doing some techie codey computery software.
He does the architecture and the security of the architecture of these systems.
Yes, what Ike said. So if he would have said, I took an IQ test and I was a 98, 99, 98, solid 98, that would shock the hell out of me. Because people who have, around that 90, 98 range, 100 range, they can be competent, productive people, finish school, get a bachelor's degree, get a good job, but they can't do high level stuff like what he's doing. And so that's where, IQ matters and it's real, but it's so much underlining nuance to it. So it's whenever we talk about it, it's tough.
Because if you go, let's say you take forest logic. Okay, what were they doing in the forest and how did they live? And What do you need to know? Because somebody said something about making silly mistakes regardless of their IQ. Theo, what? Theo, right? Also, somebody could say, hey, if you take one of these smart people and you put them in the forest, they won't survive. How dare you call these forest people dumb? That kind of a thing, right? And it's like, okay, in the forest, there's still the guy who is best at identifying plants and making arrows and all that kind of stuff. There's still a distribution of the smart forest people and the ones that ain't so smart, right? There's something still there, but we just got to measure it differently with these other groups, okay? Because that thing ain't going away. There is the sharpest guy in the forest. Not everybody is like, oh, because they're like, oh, these forest people know 10 million plants. Ah, no, there's the dumbass over there that doesn't really know, that's always eating the wrong just like any other kind of distribution. So that kind of distribution of competence is going to exist in all these different populations, regardless of when we start comparing the two populations. And no matter what, you're going to have the 156 Theo Waff type people in the forest and outside of the forest, and no one needs to tell you who they are, right? It's kind of going to be obvious. But if you bring it back to my situation and me testing their IQ and what do I do with the IQ, I take all these things into account because the IQ and the personality test also there's a high correlation with them, right? There's some personalities that have high IQ, kind of what they do, right? So INTJ, for example, is higher up there. Some kinds of tricks that particular functions are better at. Some particular kinds of functions like INFJ type people are just very good with logic and so on and so forth. You have to combine these things with the IQ test that you see, okay? And if you give me a timed IQ test, okay, you'll be surprised at what you may find. But if you give me a different kind of IQ test, you'll see that, oh, that explains, because, yeah, I always mess up in terms of like, because that's just not how my mind works. It's like I come up with a basic structure first and then I look away. And then I come back and then I fine tune it. Just going all the way to the fine tuned is rather difficult for me. Okay. So that's I do many things. So I start a structure here, I start a structure there, stuff like that, and then I come back a day later. I'm like, oh, this particular design, oh, dumbass, you can just take this part off and take this part off and take this part off. Boom. So
personal question, Ike, you are more than welcome to decline. Have you taken an IQ test? If so, what was the score on the timed versus untimed? I'm doing that to help you out because I'm afraid you may have a really low score on a timed IQ test. So you can.
Oh no, it's not. Look, on a timed IQ test, I got like about 128. Right.
That's still extreme. That's 2 standard deviations above the average in America. So
yeah, but the thing is, the reason why. Because they're still okay. I'm an engineer. Some other things kind of correlate with that. But the thing is, anyways, let me not.
It means you're rocking a Theo 156 on an untimed one. So anyway.
But here's the thing, because amongst my peers, okay, they are kind of like, they know. I don't know how to. This kind of sounds like bragging. In other words, they're like, okay, everyone in our engineering class was between 115, 125, whatever. But we see something else in you in the way your mind works, right? That kind of a thing, right? And it kind of is evidenced by the fact that, okay, but not a lot of engineers are also musicians and also on here on YouTube talking about this, that, and the other, blah, 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 that, whatever, right? And not a lot of them do the kinds of things that I tend to do and try to go out there and push boundaries, blah, 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 and conceptualize things the way I tend to do, okay? So the 125 IQ doesn't explain a particular facility that I have, right? So, but that part you can kind of see when you let the intuition, because I'm a very intuitive person, and intuition takes its time. You can't just force it. You can't just be like, solve the problem. It's like, nah, it doesn't work that way. You gotta look away, and you come back and like, eureka. Intuition is that eureka thing, right? So that, but on that other end, like if you're on the untimed, yeah, it's higher, and but we've seen a lot of fluidity both between comparing populations and also looking at what the IQ actually is. And that's why I combine it with personalities as well, because you can kind of know, okay, well, this is a sensor, this is an intuitive, this is how they're operating. These two things match together. And if I have to get somebody from Ethiopia and the IQ is 80, okay, but they have the CV and they can obviously communicate with me and they're doing the task, then that is going to give me a nice, interesting data point that I keep, and I also
Mhm.
keep along with the personality as well.
Huh. So, what would be considered a lower IQ plus mixed with a solid personality test, mixed with a good resume and good communication, get somebody, across the line, basically.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because the
got it.
big part of this is what happens after you bring them in, okay, and check me out at my okay MYS consciousness. um I'll give you the website. I'll give you the email later. But it's a master your subjective consciousness. MYSC is the name of the kind of a thing that I'm building, or MISC. You can email me at myconsciousness@gmail.com. We will find out if that's the right one, or I'll change it later. Because the overall goal of this is to have that verified node. These are the people in the network. Let's all do business together with competent people, right? And let's get rich, if you will. Because if you go back to the beginning, what is the problem? What are we trying to solve? You have things that you would do right now if you could get the help, if you could get that gap in expertise, if you could get somebody to just do the research for you at a reasonable price. You do have that advantage being here in the West compared to somebody in Brazil, in Ethiopia, in Uganda, in Kenya. We have people out here in the manosphere who demonstrated that, hey, this is how it works. O'Shea has his own operation, all international. And that same operation edits Kevin Samuels videos, right? And this thing has been done by all other companies before in the past when they had the ability to. The fact that we have the internet and all these other kinds of things now just makes it such that we should definitely be taking advantage of this so that we can kick ass and do the things that we want to do. They can get to kick ass too. You can have this whole kind of network thing. The traveling and one of the first things that when I first showed up on your show, Bernard, I said to open international bank accounts, right? When people
Yeah.
asked, yeah, this is a important thing of mine, because again, and I always like to look at things from a first person perspective. As like, okay, why should I open it? Because the magic of opening an international bank account will pull you more and more into this world. Because guess what? You're gonna have to pay these people somehow. You're gonna learn about maybe M-Pesa, maybe you're gonna learn about these other different kinds of cards. There's international ways of moving money around, this, that, and the other. But prior to this, we were just talking about just open the bank account because that'll start to pull you in. But now we're saying after you got that bank account open now get into this network, okay, and let's see if we can get your skills met with some of these international people, okay, writing this particular code, doing this particular spreadsheet, answering your phone calls, whatever it may be. You may already have a business right now, or you may be thinking of starting a business, but that is the idea, and I think it's 100% worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. We actually hit every single corner of this because the last thing we were going to talk about is how do you evaluate them. So, are you talking if you're talking after you've hired them, and even then you kind of touched on that. You kind of touched on the how do you evaluate them. I think we hit every corner of this thing. I'm trying to think if
Mm-hmm.
there's any unturned stone here as far as getting that done. This was
So
pretty good. This was pretty good. Yeah, if there's any unturned stone, because we can we could possibly call it right here because I think
yeah,
you hit everything. But any unturned stone that you could think of to throw out there before we
yeah, let's
conclude
let's
this
just
thing.
kind of go with this wrap up slash unturned stone real quick, because I think that on this evaluating them thing, it's just a little, you want to get rid of people quickly. You want to hire them slowly, as I said. That not that I said, but it's implied by the whole. I'm going to look at your CV. Okay, I already looked at it, and then at 9 a.m. today, I'm going to go have an interview with these people, and then there's the tests that they have to take, right? And then there's a trial period. Blah blah. We're training them every Sunday. Blah. Want to do that process slowly, but once you see something, cut it off. I've had to cut off 2 people in the past couple of weeks, right? That's just kind of how it is, because and there's no
What
no
did they
hard
what did
feelings.
What specifically, if you could be specific, what did they do that caused them to get cut off?
Um, one of the gentlemen was just having emotion. He was having emotional issues, simp issues, I would say. No shade to you, sir, but we all go through it. And I was about to mention also the the fact that it's always also kind of seen from the personality type. Certain personalities too intuitive.
Oh,
In other words, he wasn't doing the work. Let's talk about the manifestation, and then because I kind of give like a diagnosis. I'm like he was, but what was the symptoms? He wasn't doing the work, right? He didn't pay attention in the. You can kind of tell because we're doing a training thing, and we do like a recap. I'm asking them questions, trying to engage, and I could tell that he wasn't paying attention in a lot of the training sessions, right? You can pick that up. Um, Matches with his personality as well. It's one of these intuitive type, just like me. I would be that kind of a guy too. They just kind of zoning out, right? Well, like, cool, but you still got to go make it happen. Zone out all you want, okay, but make it happen. But then on the make it happen end, he didn't make it happen, and he would not communicate. If you have issues, ask me, that kind of a thing. But the diagnosis I gave is given his personality and given the situation, it's just typical kind of simpitude, okay?
what did it have to
Uh,
do with simping? Everything you described didn't have nothing to do with simping, so it had to be
I'm
something.
saying I'm saying why the behind the scenes thing, the reason why he can't deal with his freaking emotions and man up and then communicate and blah 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 is because of his feelings and
Was that
his
for somebody who's in the organization?
no, just for regular relationship stuff, for example. But
Okay.
also here's the thing: there's a personality type that for which, let's say INFJ. If you're an INFJ and you're a man, okay,
Well, explain what INFJ is real quick. Intuitive.
introvert,
Oh, yeah,
intuitive, feeler, judger. Okay.
introvert, intuitive, feeler, judger. Okay.
Yeah. So that personality type has a lot of what do you go introverted feeling type stuff, and they're not thinkers per se. They're feelers. They feel and they kind of these intuitive feelers. And Jordan Peterson is an INFJ. He's crying every time he's talking. You get the vibe, right? You can just tell that this guy feels a lot, right? They can be very very smart, so on and so forth, but the feelings with these guys, okay? In other words, that's a hump they got to overcome, okay? And he's a young INFJ, just graduated, and he hasn't quite handled his he cannot quite stand
Mhm.
up to certain situations quite yet. He gets disappointed that he messed up one task, and then he can't quite dig himself out of that rut to tackle the next task. You get the picture.
Yeah, I
I
got you.
just I'm just calling him a simp because I know that's what's going on. Yeah, he's just out there simping, and he'll get over his simpishness, and maybe he'll rise up, man up like Jordan Peterson or something. I don't know.
Right, right. So yeah, that's one example of why you had to let somebody go. Well,
Another example. You want one
yeah.
more example?
Well, you said you let two people go. So I was
hmm
so
The
what was
other
the
guy
other?
was asking for. I alluded to it earlier, asking for more hours. In other words, more
Oh, okay.
money,
Yep, yep.
right? And I'm like, you're not ready yet because I can't. The things I'm doing right now where I haven't taught you how to do because and this is just true whether engineering or many other kinds of things when they come out fresh from school. When I came out fresh from school, you got to do the learning, and
Mhm.
I did it through like internships, but it's paid internships. But what was I getting back then? This was like 2006, getting like $15 an hour. But I soaked up stuff. I even have some folders, actual physical paper from stuff that I did back then at that job, so that I'll be able to be competent. So that in the interview next time I can be like, yep, I can do some concrete. I got some wood experience, blah, blah, blah. I can design some steel, but that's my weakest point. But show them these kinds of things. But this guy, okay, he does not have that yet. I'm literally teaching him stuff and he wants more work, but I can't give you the work because you don't know the thing yet. I'm like, okay, cool. Let me give you a trajectory of the time when you're going to get there. But he didn't want to do that because he wanted to go and sign that other paperwork where he can just chill and get the money, leading us to the problem about employment in the West. Because you have these rules which hurt people. You say, hey, you got to pay them this much, or you got to give them this many hours. But when they're new, they're not worth that much, right?
Mhm.
So you got to allow people to be able to deal in a certain way. And because people think, oh, if you remove these rules around this, then everyone's just going to be taking advantage of everybody. It's like Not really. Majority of people out there, majority of business owners out there are trying to run a good business and keep their employees happy, because the employees are the ones dealing with the customers. And you don't want an unhappy person dealing with your customer. Generally speaking, not everybody's a freaking psychopath. What is that, like 2% of the population? Why does everybody all of a sudden think every business person out there all of a sudden is a psychopath? It's like, no, we will come up with an amicable agreement with this person on a way to bring them in. But if it's like, no, it's got to be this much, then it's like, I gotta let you go, because Ethiopian lady over here, she's killing it. She can get more people, and she's cuter than you. So hey,
pretty privileged in the hiring. Oh,
yeah, that's
cut it out.
That would be that thing I just said right there. That'd be a future lawsuit, but I guess it's not America. That's why you don't hire in America. Like, he fired a guy and he kept the girl because he said she's cuter than.
Yep. Absolutely. But all right, no, this was good. This was definitely good conversation, good build, as they like to say. Good build, as they like to say. But shout out to everybody in the build. You had one more thing, and you're writing.
It's my S consciousness @gmail.com. Hit me up in that email if you wanna like explore this idea of, I would like to hire some people. How did you set up this thing? My S consciousness. It stands for, master subjective. Anyways, my MYS consciousness.
Type it in the chat. People are weird. They're not gonna.
All right, cool. They
got to be able to copy and paste it.
I always hated that word consciousness because I never know where the 2 S's or whatever is. Okay, I think I got it. My S consciousness @gmail.com. Yeah, and as you were saying, I think that this was a good build. This is something that is quite useful. You can see it helping me. You can see it helping O'Shea. So it's like, if that blockhead, aesthetically challenged guy from Sacramento called O'Shea Duke Jackson can make this work for him.
Yeah.
You can do it too.
Right on. All right, good stuff. We're about to get up out of here. I'd like to thank everybody who came through today, everybody who watched the stream, liked the stream. Better not be in it. Even I didn't even like it. And we somehow managed to get 2 thumbs down today somehow. I don't know. Some people just gonna thumbs it down no matter what. But shout out to everybody who came through. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we are up out of here. Peace. Today's show is brought to you by the Division 6 comic book, created and produced by Michael Varner and executive producer Theodore Young. Division 6 is a James Bond meets Mission Impossible like geopolitical thriller. The protagonist is Seth Banks, an African-American male genius in cryptology and economics that secretly works for a rogue organization of the CIA called Division 6. Be sure to click the link in the chat room or in the video description to view the comic book. New chapters are added bi-weekly.